Hey everyone, apologize for the delay. Had trouble with the internet allowing me to go live, but here I am, Marilynn Hughes, the Out of Body Travel Foundation. We're going to talk about Hildegard von Bingen's vision on humility, which, we just discussed St. Francis de Sales on the love of God. And we're going to talk now about the next step. How do we deal with our fallen nature? Trying to ascend out of the physical spheres into a higher spiritual reality. And so humility is then the next step that comes along. But let's first just take a look back at Hildegard von Bingen and who she is. She was a 12th century mystical nun who had these amazing mystical visions. She was shown the mysteries of the redemption in ways that no other mystic has ever been shown. She was in a convent from the time she was a young girl. And she was born in 1098. And so it was difficult for her because she lived in a time when women should not stand out, but she was called to stand out. So it became an interesting reality for her. And I'd like to share just a little bit of her life story with you from this amazing book, Harper's Encyclopedia of Mystical and Paranormal Experience, written by Rosemary Ellen Gilly. And she talks here just a little bit where you can learn more about Hildegard herself. And then we're going to go to her vision and talk about that. And we're going to discuss the litany of humility, which is a prayer that we can pray to help us also to achieve greater levels of humility in our own lives. Reminder, please subscribe to our channel. Helps us to remain searchable on the internet. And also, if you can, please become a member. Membership helps us to keep our resources free to everyone around the world, no matter where they are. It's very helpful, so appreciated. Please consider doing that. So Benedictine abbess, an acclaimed prophet, mystic, theologian, writer, poet, composer, and early feminist. The first major German mystic, she's best known for a series of mystical illuminations or visions, which she experienced and chronicled in midlife. This is what one of the books of her mystical illuminations looks like, which were far advanced of the religious outlooks of her day. Her power and influence made her one of the most important women of her time. Her work has enjoyed renewed serious interest in modern times. Hildegard was born to parents of high nobility in the summer of 1098 in the German village of Bickelheim, also given as Bockelheim. So it's either Bickelheim or Bockelheim, apparently not completely known, located on the Nahe River, a tributary of the Rhine. The village was near Bingen, an important river town about 50 miles southwest of Frankfurt. Hildegard's father was a knight of the castle Bickelheim. The area was heavily settled by Celts, and Celtic mystical beliefs strongly influenced her religious development. Interesting, huh? The youngest of 10 children, Hildegard had religious visions from the earliest she could remember. Because of this, she was drawn to the church and began her education in a Benedictine cloister in Dizzy-Bodenberg at the age of 8. She became a nun at 18 and advanced to prioress at age 38. In modern times, Hildegard would have been called a feminist. She believed in the equality of men and women, but sometimes doubted herself because of criticism from men and their oppression of women. She was often ill, and she blamed it on her frustrated passivity. Though she had had visions since childhood, Hildegard's great spiritual awakening came in her early 40s when she began to experience particularly intense illuminations and clairaudient messages about the nature of God, the human soul, and all being, and the interconnectedness among all things in the universe. Hello, Guardian. Welcome. Thank you for joining me. So appreciated. She also experienced visions of sin, redemption, and the nature of the cosmos. In her second vision, a voice instructed her to write and speak of her supernormal insights. The experience galvanized her to shake off her doubts about her proper place as a woman. Still, she had to work within the system. She consulted her confessor, who in turn consulted the Archbishop of Mainz. A committee of theologians validated her visions. In collaboration with a monk, Hildegard began writing her first book, Scivias, which translates to Know the Ways of the Lord, a record of 26 illuminations. Scivias, written in Latin, is highly intellectual and symbolic. Some of the visions deal with prophecy, denunciation of vice, and the universe as egg or sphere. Central to the work is the idea of God as the living light. All living creatures are, so to speak, sparks from the radiance of God's brilliance, and these sparks emerge from God like rays of the sun. Scivias was finished in about 1152, and Pope Eugenius III approved of it. With the publication of Scivias, Hildegard's fame spread, and she became known as the Sibyl of the Rhine. Hello, Anna Yell. Thank you for joining us. Eugenius encouraged her to keep writing. She appreciated his approval, but that didn't stop her from scolding the Pope to work harder for reform in the church. Around 1147, Hildegard and her sister nuns left Dizzy-Bodenberg for another monastery in Rupertsberg, Germany, where they could have more room to live and work. She was consecrated an abbess. In 1165, she founded another monastery in Bingen, across the river from Bingen, and commuted between there and Rupertsberg every week. Hildegard kept up an active, work-filled life right up to her death in her early 80s on September 17, 1179. She traveled widely throughout Europe, preaching to clergy, nobility, scholars, and the lay public. Her views influenced many of her powerful contemporaries, such as Saint Bernard of Clairvaux and Frederick I of Barbarossa. She denounced corruption in the church and criticized the Christian, Jewish, and Muslim faiths for being dried up and lacking care and compassion. She challenged the church time and time again. Hello, MT. Thank you for joining us. Saying Eve was not at fault. Instead, she said the devil had used Eve as an instrument to influence Adam. She celebrated human sexuality as the beautiful spiritual union of two human beings, not just the means for procreation. What a unique idea in her time in the 12th century, right? Hildegard had a tremendous interest in science and medicine, and between 1150 and 1157 wrote two medical books far advanced for her time. And you have to remember, too, she never had an education. She was a woman. She was denied that. She was self-taught. Her approach to medicine was holistic. She integrated the four-element, four-humor natural healing system, which dated back at least to the ancient Greeks, with spiritual wisdom. She prescribed numerous herbal and dietary remedies, all inspired by her spiritual visions. Hildegard considered music to be the ultimate celebration of God, going back to what we talked about with the music of the spheres in a previous live stream. She composed 77 songs, perhaps divinely inspired. I would say definitely divinely inspired, that were more complex than most 12th century songs. She considered music to be a better medium than words for the expression of wisdom. Interesting, I think, just as a fellow out-of-body traveler and someone who's had mystical experiences, that I think that's true. I think that's a very well-stated thing that she apparently believed as well. Wisdom, she said, dwells in the heart of God, is part of all creative effort, and is the elusive treasure sought by the strong and virtuous soul. She also was a prolific poet and writer, composing a morality plays set to music, more than 70 poems, 300 letters, and 9 books. Besides Scivias, 2 other books are major works on theology: De Operatione Dei and Liber Vitae Meritorium. Hildegard also wrote 2 biographies of saints and a commentary on the Gospels. She even invented her own language, which she used to describe scientific terms. She said all of her writings were dictated by the Holy Spirit. Hildegard is included in Roman Catholic martyrology, though she never was formally canonized as a saint. Let me just clarify that is a correction to be made, because in 2012, Pope Benedict XVI declared her not only a saint, but one of the only 4 women to be made into doctors of the church. So that was just something that happened after this book was apparently published. 3 attempts were made to canonize her under Pope Gregory IX, Pope Innocent IV, and Pope John the 22nd. Interesting, huh? It took so long, 800 years. After 1317, she gradually slipped into obscurity, though Benedictine sisters carefully preserved and copied her text. And thank you to them for that, right? Since World War II, her works have been rediscovered, published, and analyzed. In 1979, on the 800th anniversary of her death, Pope John Paul II called her an outstanding saint. Her feast day is September 17th. So that's a little bit on her background, but let's go to her vision on humility, which is really important because we're talking about how we come from that fallen state. And we've talked about the love of God being the very first step. Well, humility is the second. We have to humble ourselves before God and learn those kinds of things. So in her vision, it was the 8th vision of the 3rd part. She had these interesting ways that she classified her visions. And this is vision 8:1. I am humility, the column of humble minds and the murderess of proud hearts. I began in the least of places, but I have ascended to the lofty place of the heavens. Lucifer lifted Lucifer upwards, but fell downwards. Whoever wishes to imitate me and desires to be my child, humility's child, and if that person wants to embrace me as if I were his or her mother by doing my work in me, let this person touch the foundation and then gently lift himself or herself upwards towards the top. What does this mean? Let this person think about the worthlessness of his or her own flesh, and let this person climb step by step upwards from virtue to virtue with a sweet and gentle soul. For whoever climbs first to the highest branch of a tree, that person most often falls unexpectedly. But whoever begins by climbing from the base of the tree, that person will not fall so easily if he or she proceeds cautiously. And then this talks about what she saw as this instruction was being given to her. The second image was completely the color of a hyacinth, which was the color of the air up above, namely blue. Her tunic was blue and decorated with 2 girdles, which had been woven wondrously and had been decorated with gold and jewels. I'm going to show you this picture in just a minute that she did of this vision, assuming there is one. There may not be one. There is one. Yes. One girdle was over one shoulder, falling in front and back, and the other girdle was over the other shoulder, falling the same way. This virtue spoke. So, Hildegard von Bingen did these amazing paintings. Here's the cover of this book from which this vision is coming from. This is Hildegard's artwork on the front cover. And so this is the drawing that she did of Lady Humility. And the stairway there, as you can see, from earth to heaven. And look at all the souls working their ways up and down and through. She had this very unique style. She wasn't a professional painter or artist. And with her music, the same thing. But her music is just so beautiful. But her paintings were all very similarly done. Let me show you a couple of other images from her visions here. So this is from the fifth vision of the second part. Here's another one of her drawings of what she saw. This one, she says of it, after this I saw a bright light which was as white as snow and as transparent as crystal. It made the woman of the two previous visions bright from her head down to her throat, from her throat down to her navel. Another light of a reddish color surrounded her. From her throat down to her breasts, she glowed with a reddish color that was similar to the dawn. Beautiful, huh? She draws a little bit like I myself try. It's so hard to capture what we see in these visions. Here's another beautiful vision that she drew. This is the fourth vision of the second part. She says, next I saw a large round tower which was built completely out of white stone. It had 3 windows near its top. And from these 3 windows, such a bright light poured out that even the cone-shaped roof of the tower could be seen more clearly in the light. These windows were decorated around their outside with beautiful emeralds. This tower was located straight behind the middle of the woman in my previous vision, similar to the way a tower is placed in the wall of a city. The woman could not be destroyed in any way because of the tower's strength. So just a few little extra blurbs there, but I want to now share with you again on the theme of humility, the litany of humility. This is a Catholic prayer, which I think is probably one of the most powerful prayers that we can pray to help us to rid ourselves of vainglorious ideas, our egos, our attachment to the things of the world. And it puts things in perspective when we pray this. I'm reading this from a holy card that was put out by St. Joseph's Press. Let's see if there you go. There it is. This prayer was written by Raphael Cardinal Mary del Val. He was the Secretary of State for Pope St. Pius X. He lived from 1865 to 1930. I have 3 volumes of work on St. Cardinal Mary del Val, and I guess I should say he's not a saint yet, but he probably will be someday. And that series of 3 volumes that I have consists of a biography, his autobiography, and letters written by him. But this is probably his thing that he is remembered for the most, which is this prayer, the Litany of Humility. O Jesus, meek and humble of heart, hear me. From the desire of being esteemed, deliver me, Jesus. From the desire of being loved, deliver me, Jesus. From the desire of being extolled, deliver me, Jesus. From the desire of being honored, deliver me, Jesus. From the desire of being praised, deliver me, Jesus. From the desire of being preferred to others, deliver me, Jesus. From the desire of being consulted, deliver me, Jesus. From the desire of being approved, deliver me, Jesus. From the fear of being humiliated, deliver me, Jesus. From the fear of being despised, deliver me, Jesus. From the fear of suffering rebukes, deliver me, Jesus. From the fear of being calumniated, deliver me, Jesus. From the fear of being forgotten, deliver me, Jesus. From the fear of being ridiculed, deliver me, Jesus. From the fear of being wronged, deliver me, Jesus. From the fear of being suspected, deliver me, Jesus. That others may be loved more than I, Jesus, grant me the desire to grace it and to desire it. That others may be esteemed more than I, Jesus, grant me the grace to desire it, that in the opinion of the world, others may increase and I may decrease. Jesus, grant me the grace to desire it, that others may be chosen and I set aside. Jesus, grant me the grace to desire it, that others may be praised and I unnoticed. Jesus, grant me the grace to desire it, that others may be preferred to me in everything. Jesus, grant me the grace to desire it, that others may become holier than I, provided that I may become as holy as I should. Jesus, grant me the grace to desire it. So there is a prayer that we can pray that can help us in this effort to reascend into the heights of heaven from this physical world, this physical flask below. And I will be returning here in just a moment to answer your questions. So I hope you will come back and throw me all your questions. I love them. Beautiful, says Aniel. Thank you, Aniel. That Raphael Cardinal Mary Del Val. He was a mystic too. Beautiful, beautiful story. Maybe we'll talk about him sometime. So we'll be back in a few moments. Please subscribe to our channel. It keeps us more easy to find around the internet. Also, please consider becoming a member for those who already are. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It is so important for us to be able to keep our resources completely free to everyone in the world, and your support through memberships in the YouTube channel help to make that possible. So you can click on that join button, see what your options are. There's several options, and see if you might feel like you could help contribute to helping us to keep all of our content available for free to everybody in the world. And join me again in a few minutes where we will answer your questions. Thank you so much.